Why don't you lead us in the Pledge
Copy.
of
What's
Allegiance?
up?
Lead us in the Pledge of
Oh,
Allegiance, since you guys have a flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I can go ahead and call the roll since Aaron is absent. So, Board Chair present, Aaron Montano absent, Bryn King,
Present,
Gabriel Sook.
on his way.
Present.
He's still on the line. Great, present.
Yeah, I'm here, present, but slow on the mute button.
All right, Rebecca,
Here.
Mark,
Present.
Terry. No Terry. Okay, Terry's absent. Okay, everybody take a look at the agenda. It's not super long. Any corrections or additions? Any corrections or additions? Going once, going twice, there's no corrections or additions, so we'll move on with this agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda items. So we have the minutes from February, our last meeting, also February bank reconciliations and check registers, and the bars that Katie has sent out to us, which she sent a couple
It's
additions.
two bars, and we have two other bars under additional bars, 39I and 40I. Those are going to be our impact aid funds. We've received the first round. I don't know when we'll receive the second round, but we need to bar them.
Okay. Does anyone have any issues and concerns with any of those that we need to pull out and put on the agenda? All right.
Nope.
Going once, going twice. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as items as they stand. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as it stands.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, moved by Britton King, seconded by Rebecca Boucher. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote. Bryn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Gabe?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. On to the principal's report. Take it away, Julianne.
Okay, I'll come over there so you can hear me better.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can hear you. I just was across the room. I wasn't sure the mic would pick me up. Enrollment right now, a total is 754, which includes pre-K. Our percent Native American is still 56%. We just did our tribal consultation yesterday, so we've met that requirement for both consultations for this year. The wait list for this year still stands around 213 students. Our next year's enrollment, we've already done the kindergarten and the pre-K enrollment. Kindergarten, we have 56 spots out of 75 filled, and pre-K 19 out of 20 spots filled. Staffing for next year looks pretty good. We have just about everyone lined up except for maybe a English teacher in the high school. So we're still trying to find that position to be filled. And the only other thing I think is that we received notice from the Public Education Commission that they want us to come before them next month to consider a corrective action plan because our funds went over budget last year because of the transportation issue. So Katie and I, we just got notice of that. So Katie and I and Dan Hill will be meeting about that and going over what we need to do for that. Hillsdale College will be here on April 2nd, doing some filming of the school. on April 1st is the staff basketball game, staff for students and staff dance team also go against our girls who just got third place in at the state competition. They competed against 4A teams. So we're just a 2A district, but we had to compete in the 4A category. And I think half of the girls are in 8th grade and came in third place for the state and in a 4A category. So, yeah. So, and our baseball teams are doing really well. I think they're like 5th or 6th for 2A in the state at this point and climbing up. So that's what I have for my report.
How does that like meeting that you guys have to do, has Katie ever participated in something like that, and like what happens?
So either Katie or Dan, or it's Dan on, I'm not sure, or Katie, I think.
Yeah,
I think Katie.
this will be my third one. And it's not, the others, yeah, I mean, the others, they've used intervention letter as one of the things. CAP was another one, which is what they're suggesting for Hozho. And so I use what they want to see is that we have a plan. And so for the other two schools I've done this for, the PEC has approved our plan and we've just gone forward and there's been no cap. I'm anticipating the same with this. Primarily because it has like half of our findings have to do with transportation and the fact that we had to start $1 million transportation program on our own. And the biggest, because they said how they chose the schools, and had we not had the transportation issue, we would have only received like 4 findings. And they said that anyone who had 5 or more, and there were so many of certain types, that's how they picked them. The thing is that the other schools that are up for caps, they got disclaimed audits. We did not. So my argument is, why are we the only one up for a cap who does not have a disclaimed audit? And 2, it's a very clear reason why we were in this position, because PEDs, as I call them, archaic policies, did not fund us when they should have funded us. So we'll talk through all this with Dan, but I've flagged this for the board chair. I flagged this for your representative for PEC. I put CSD on it. Like, they know it's coming. They know how we feel and we know why. They know why we got
What
them.
does that mean with the other schools having disclaimed audits or whatever you said? What does that mean?
So that means that there was not enough information given to the auditor that they could form an opinion for the audit. So it's
But
like,
we didn't have that because they had enough information to see that like ours was clearly a.
yeah, we have what's called an unmodified opinion. So that's what you want,
Okay.
which means we gave them everything they wanted. They got it. They could audit it. Yes, we got findings, but the school's organized enough to essentially perform an audit.
Thank you.
And so Julianne, just real quick, the tribal consultation, how did that go? What did that involve? What do we need to do?
So there's a certain PowerPoint presentation that they have structured and we fill in the blanks basically.
Hmm.
And we kind of go through the list of things that they've requested. And then, so we go through the PowerPoint and at the end, they ask us questions about whatever they want to ask us questions about. And we just address them as they bring them up. This time it was on the computer, which didn't help that it was just happened to be our computer internet decided to go out that day, but then come back on and then go back out and then come back on and then go back out. I mean, it was like 10 times trying to get through that tribal consultation. And the other times have been in person. So this was, we just did this one, I guess we're allowed to do online. So we do one in the fall and one in the spring.
So usually at those meetings, do they give you any sort of requirements or anything that we have to do? Or is it just, we just have to go talk to them?
we just have to consult about how we spend our title money and any grant money that we get regarding Native American funding. We just outline all of those things and how we spend it.
Do they show any emotion like that they're pleased with how we're doing, or like, do they give any suggestions?
In the past, they've given some suggestions about things and they've requested us to look into the language proficiency programs so that when students graduate, they can get a certain diploma, recognition that they are fluent in their native language. There's certain part we do to fulfill that. But because of the internet problem, I think this last time, the shutting off and turning back on and logging back in and then getting up the PowerPoint again, and then logging off and then logging back in. They were like, okay,
We're done.
I think that's good. But we send them the point and follow up at any time really and ask us whatever they want to ask.
Terry, you would raise your hand. Did you have something to add or ask? Oh, you're muted. You're
Could somebody
Terry,
come get me at the door here? I'm here at the school.
you're muted, Terry. Oh yeah, we got to get Gabe in.
I was just trying to see if somebody can get
Hello?
me, come open the door for me. Oh, there we go. Got it. Bring got me. Thank you. All right, now I can
Okay,
hang this
so
up.
hi Julianne, hi everyone. I'm sorry I'm tardy. I was here just, anyway.
Good.
That's
Tommy off.
So may I ask who at Zuni you met with and who at Navajo Tribe you met with?
So no, we don't meet with the Zuni tribe. We meet with the Navajo Nation. For the Navajo Nation, it was Alice Benali, Roy Tracy, Matthew. I can't remember his last name. Was like maybe TSO something. I
Oh,
can't
Matthew
remember.
So. Matthew
Yeah.
So, he's their accountant.
So it was the three of those three individuals, and then there was somebody in background notes or something that never never was introduced.
So this was actually their consultation was with Dodie,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Dodie,
that
the
was our
Department of Dene
consultation.
Education.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so then may I ask why you don't consult with Zuni?
I don't know if I kind of defer to Stephanie in that regard about we have to consult with the Navajo Nation has the majority of our students, and so we have to demonstrate that we're making that consultation with them. It's not a requirement to meet with every tribe, but I would defer to Stephanie in that regard to find out. In the past, she's invited or spoken to people at the government level there in the governor's office, but it's not been something that we've done in the past. It's only been the Navajo Nation up till this point.
Yeah, I know with my prior experience having tribal consultation with the Zuni Pueblo, the governor and council are always more than willing to meet with the entities, and I would gladly volunteer my time as well to meet with you and Julianne, with that council to express, because it's not always what you need or no, what you have and what you're doing. The tribe may be able to help you with things you may need and for your Zuni students. And I think that at the basis of all consultation is why we do these meetings, is to be able to get to the heart of how they might help the kids more. And so I'd highly recommend that Hozho get into the practice of having tribal consultations with any tribe that you can, especially with the kids that represent the largest population, because the tribes want to help in some way too. And I'm just kind of throwing that out there, that I think it would behoove Hozho to meet with the Zuni governor and the council as a school, as a formal meeting.
Sure. I'll loop you in on an email with Stephanie and we can maybe make that arrangement and see if they
Okay.
want to meet for the spring, or if if they have slots available or how that will work with them. I know how it works
Yeah.
with the Navajo Nation, but might be different for Zuni. So I'll loop all three of us in on a
Well,
email
and
to see what we can
and
accomplish.
it's really all around, it's all around my quest to try to make Hozho as compliant and as outgoing as possible for the tribal consultation and the tribal involvement, because it could help us financially at some point as well. And so I just think it behooves us. So thank you for that. Julianne, and looking forward to, I think it's Friday the 4th.
Yes, our group meets Friday the 4th, but I don't know that the rest of the board knows what we do, but for that,
Oh,
for
you want
that,
me to tell?
Yeah, that
A
was-
little bit. I know a little bit. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, so so board members, I volunteered with Julianne to take their cultural team and work them through some systematic processes in order to build a good foundation for the team and create goals based on what their group is there to do at the school. We've learned a lot. We've met 2 times now, done a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, gotten to know each other. Julianne brought on a great exercise of how we got to know each other through a river of life exercise, which was really good and opened up the floor for conversation. And Julianne could let everyone know exactly who is on the list to be on that group. But this will be our 3rd meeting, and I'm taking the SWOT right now, and I'm analyzing that to be able to talk to the group about what would be the most crucial goals to go after. Culturally, Hozho is a big word. That's a big word to live up to, even for natives to live up to that word. And for a school to do that, I think that cultural competency and cultural relevant and responsive teaching is at the heart of where we get to that. And so in a way, that's kind of where we're headed to, but it's going to take time. Everything takes time. And what we're doing now is really focused on next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
If you have any questions, I'm open.
Any questions
Are
for
the
Terry?
people on that meeting, are they staff? Are they parents? Who makes up that group?
That is a
So we-
Julianne
we
question.
So we sort of started this last year with a group of people who we wanted to consider how do we marry and merge the Western civilization and the Native American and different cultural perspectives. And so it's for admin, it's Cindy, Stephanie, and I, and then we have some lead teachers, and we have teachers who represent Navajo, Zuni, our Hispanic population. And it was opened up to the whole school, whoever wanted to join, and then who could commit to doing the work. And Mr. Theory is on it too. So,
Like Mr.
This is-
D and like his wife?
so Celeste is on it, not Mr. D, but Celeste is on the group. And so we just meet, as Terry said, we're meeting at least once a month right now to try and figure out how to do that well, how to be true to the curriculum and provide the Native American perspective and other cultural perspectives from our area.
Cool.
That's hard work.
Yeah.
Courageous conversations.
We've had some,
Yeah,
more to come.
yeah, right. It's great though, because everyone's learning about each other and then learning how they could support each other, but ultimately how are they going to support the kids?
Right. Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
Okay, thanks, Terry. All right, Julianne, if that's all you've got, let's move on to Katie, if you would run us through the numbers.
Yes, our favorite, the numbers. Okay, let me go pull it up real quick. Hold on, I'm trying to get this bar done too. And I put the other bars on the minutes. Okay. All right, board support. March. Oh, okay. It's just in presentation form. I didn't PDF it, I don't think. Okay. 2 Mondays. All right, can you guys see it?
Not yet.
Oh yeah, sorry. Because I haven't hit the button.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, got it. All right. So, I do want to highlight some of the findings that were fixed in FY23. So we got findings around prior year voids last year, and that was fixed. The chart of accounts we used, that was also fixed, and how we calculate for donated fixed assets. All right, so we got a total of 8 findings, and 4 of them were repeat. And I will go through what each finding was. This is the cause. What are we doing to address it? And do we feel like this will be fixed this year? Because some findings do take more than a year to correct. I think most of ours will be corrected this year, especially because we are starting to get, we received between buying of the buses and the allocation we got for transportation over $1 million from Pet on Transportation. So that's really helping with the cash flow situation. And also a follow-up, Gabe, we are fully paid up through Ed Fellows as of today. Today they sent us.
Ah,
Yep, so good, I'll take it. And I think we're about to pay all our accounts payable. So we went from 20 pages to 0, I think, by Friday. So that's great news. So Julianne, Jeremy, get ready for that. And okay, so our first one was about financial closing reporting. So again, the findings are based on categories. They're not necessarily based on what caused them. And so there are only so many categories. So several of the transportation findings did cause us to get a few of these reoccurring findings. So if any, given how big Hozho is, if any of these were just one-off things, especially this $50 one, we would just be in compliance, but because they categorize them all as one, it is a material weakness. This leasehold improvements, this was a discrepancy or I don't know, we agreed or not with the auditor around how they categorize this versus how we categorize this. But anyway, they, at the end of the day, said, you know, that they weren't building improvements. And so they had to, so we had to, or we had to reverse that, and then we got a finding for it. So overall, I mean, we do have a larger accounting department this year. I feel like a lot of these will be taken care of just due to capacity for these. So these again were like small, minor, either coding issues or categorization issues. Overall, like each of these individually were not anything major.
So it's like the USDA meal claim being the 21,100 instead of 21,000. If it's just that, they don't issue a finding, but there's like multiples of those they do.
No, you would get a finding, but it would be a compliance finding. So there's 2
Okay.
different levels. There's material weakness, which is the worst. There's significant deficiency, which is like medium. And then there's a compliance, and compliance is like, hey, you miscoded something or misstated something, but it didn't really impact your financials, which I would argue most of these did not impact our financials. But and so compliance is just like, fix it, don't do it again. Material weakness is more like, you might have a serious problem and you might need to really look into it.
Okay.
So the findings, which of the findings do we need to go to the PEC to?
They're saying because we got 8 total, that was 3 too many. And
So it's
that's,
for all of them combined. It's not like any one thing.
no, that's right. That's right.
And that was an arbitrary number they chose like this year, it sounded like.
Yes, yes.
That tracks. Okay.
Yes, and it changes every year. They just keep trying to figure out the cap. I will say the commissioners are very reasonable and they don't want to put more burden on schools than they have to. And if there's like a clear reason why you got the findings and a clear plan to fix it, which even the auditors were like, we get why you got some of these findings, like because you started a transportation program on your own. They, at least in my experience, have been very reasonable. It's CSD is just suggesting that we get put on a cap. They're not quite sure why they're suggesting that. And so it then is it's our jobs to combat that.
And Kate, can you just explain, because I think that term is new to me, what does it mean to be put on a cap? And what would that entail?
So it's a corrective action plan, and what it means is there's potentially more monitoring that has to happen. It would mean very little actually for the school or for well, I mean, Julianne would probably have to go to a few more financial meetings with the charter department. But for the most part, it just means more reporting on my end. Because that's what I need.
Okay, kind of like an employee improvement plan kind of thing, like for
Because that's what's
all
going to
the
help the
ways we
school
charge.
is to take more time away from us focusing on this. So, okay.
Especially
Yeah.
on stuff like this 2000 versus.
Oh yeah, so just so you know, so everything had been coded to 21000 for a long time. They introduced this fund to 1100 last year. They both
makes
have
it
to
even-
do with food. One is federal, one is state. This USDA meal, the supply chain assistance came out of nowhere. It doesn't happen all the time, and it got coded to the wrong fund. So it's not like we didn't
by one digit.
deposit the money. It wasn't like we didn't use the money. It wasn't like when we used the money, it was for the wrong thing. It was just coded wrong.
Ugh.
This is why Laura and I need a vacation after the audit. And $50, like $50 on a $10 million budget. That's like, okay, and we continue. All right, so journal entries are recorded. So we have been using the same methodology in our accounting system since Hozho opened. And the accounting system has never balanced, whether it was my accounting system or, the one we use, or EdTech's, did not balance by fund. You didn't have to balance stuff by fund. And we never received a finding for it. This year, they decided that they need everything to balance. Clearly, a JE needs to balance, but also by fund. So we've put extra checks in the accounting system so that everything balances by fund. And all of the support is attached to it. And the two journal entries they're referencing had to do, they were balancing entries to make sure all the funds did balance by cash. And so that one has been fixed, is totally fixed. The other one here didn't really have to do with that things weren't being withheld or pay was wrong. It's that we could not provide the documentation in the time that they wanted us to provide it. So we are next year changing to a new payroll system, and the payroll, so that is FY26. But even this year, we have tried to do a better job of, as people are hired, to hold on to that paperwork so that we can quickly send it to the auditor when we need to. All right, the next two are internal controls. So these are two compliance issues. And so one of these has to do with the PO not being dated before invoice. And so we have additional checks for that. The other one, it references a PO card, P card, purchase card, whatever you want to name it. This didn't necessarily have to do with us having a purchase card. It had to do with the fact that we use Equitas's purchase card, which is fine, but we couldn't get the receipts in time. So one, we have reduced our spending on the credit card. And two, Laura does ask for the backup now regularly. The next one has to do with deposits. So there's this rule that if you get cash or check, you have to deposit it within 24 hours. Again, it wasn't that that didn't happen. It was that we didn't have the evidence that it happened. So I know Era and Kyle have both worked on this year. And this is usually for this specific issue, it didn't have to do with stuff that came across Era's desk. It was like fundraisers and little stuff here and there that they just, whoever was in charge just didn't keep the right receipts that we needed. So again, we're asking for these receipts regularly, so we do get them in a timely manner and we save them for the audit. The deposits for 428. So this was Ed Fellows. Ed Fellows last year, they just paid us. They didn't send us any backup or receipt of payment. When the auditors asked for the receipt of payment, we went and asked them for it. They never got it to us, or they did not get it to us in time. In addition to that, Ed Fellows didn't keep good records around what we submitted for reimbursement and what they sent us back for revenue. And so we are doing a better job this year of one, asking for the backup when they send the payment, and two, we are doing the reconciliation ourselves because we want to make sure that we don't have this issue going forward. Okay, these are the findings we got due to transportation. The first one has to do with our fund balance being over and our accounts payable being $800,000. We knew this was going to happen because we knew we were going to run out of money at the end of the year.
This is the big one. This is the big one, probably.
This is the big one.
Yeah.
And this also is the same issue. We were over different functions. For the 11,000s, we were over functions because we just ran out of money. And for 26107, this was the Ed Fellows problem, and this was because we weren't reconciling the fund throughout the year because the revenue was a good 2 to 3 months behind when we submitted the reimbursement. And so by the time we figured out we weren't going to get fully reimbursed, it was already September. So again, we're trying to stay on them and do a better job of this. And then this last one here, there were two vendors, actually, and I need to update this, but there were two vendors that, because I asked the auditor who were the vendors, I don't remember. He said it was Atlantic Union and National Bus Sales. Anyway, both of those, I guess I knew we were going to be over 60K for them. But we got hit with an audit finding because we were told that even though they were CES vendors or they were sole source vendors, we again did not have the proper documentation. So this year we didn't pay these guys, PED did. But these are the three that kind of put us over that threshold for what they are deciding matters this year. And again, they were all caused by the new program.
Right.
And it seems like there's just no nuance at this level. Maybe there's nuance to be found in the meeting where they can take that into account, but it's just, it was 8, that's 3 too many. When is the meeting?
April 20th.
Last Friday of April.
And will we know, like, or then we have to wait after that to find out?
No, we'll know.
They vote right there.
Good to see it happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Front
a
row.
sentence.
Yep.
You are capped.
Oh, man.
I do think it's gonna be okay. I mean, I don't think they're gonna put us on a cap. I mean, knock on wood, but it's clearly for a very specific issue. And as long as we show in the next year or two that we dig ourselves out of this hole, which we are on the path to right now. I think given that it was a one-time cause, they need to give us at least a year, if not two, to, to rebuild our reserve.
Right.
So,
Can I ask a question about the 24-hour deposit thing? How do you track if you receive cash that it's in the bank within 24 hours? Do you like write the time?
Well, and how do they know when we got it then too? though?
That's my question.
well,
Approve it.
it was that we had to prove that and we couldn't because we didn't have receipts.
So like, if we take cash for like a basketball game or something like that, that has to be,
Receipted.
Receipted.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like dated and stamped and dated.
Yep.
Just when you get it,
It's
Yep.
just a receipt. It's like one of those receipt pads with the 3
right?
copies, and you write stuff on them,
Okay.
and you write the
Right.
date,
And
and
the
then by the end of day, the next day, they need to be deposited, and then you have to show the receipt, and you have to show the deposit slip from the bank, and they have to match.
Okay.
And that's what we didn't have.
Lots of paper.
like, it incentivizes everyone to go cashless.
Mhm.
Yeah, and now there are new, like some schools have moved to Square and other things, and there are pros and cons to that. There are fees associated with
I
it.
mean, we don't want to start giving away points on, I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know what they take, 3,
Yeah.
4.
Mhm. I think Squares starts at 2, goes up from there.
Yeah, so, and I mean, we've gotten, so that finding we've received before. Was it for the
Right.
same thing? No, it's for something
Right.
different. Like it was for the 24-hour rule, but it was for a different context, right? And so, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yes, it's a reoccurring finding, but it's also a compliance finding. So,
Do we accept cash at a lot of things?
sorry, say that
That kind
again.
of stuff.
Sessions.
Anyway, I
How
do,
does the fundraiser stuff go? Like when fundraising for the trips and they bring in money, does that have to get?
Yes, error processes.
Has to be done, like, right
We
away?
receive it out and error processes it and deposits it. Lot.
Yeah, it's just like
It's intense.
unnecessarily so. I mean, like, there's solutions to it, I think, but is it not necessarily a problem? Is it more just like by nature it is a, like, couldn't we like, I mean, we could delegate, like, say, I don't know, the Elks Club, like, help to run the stand or something for events, and like, or whoever it is, they run it. And then when they're ready, they can give us the cash or whatever, make it simpler, but I don't know if
Mhm.
that just overcomplicates things.
I don't know. I think we have a process in place. It's just making sure that we monitor it every single time,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's just,
by nature, these are things we're accepting cash almost always outside of school hours, outside of normal
Mhm.
course of business.
and some of it is just growing pains, right? Like we're still growing, we're getting bigger. These schools that don't have many findings like this, they have 200 kids, they've had 200 kids forever. They don't do sports, they don't do it. So there's some of that too. Like we're growing, we're trying new things, we're doing new things, we're doing things for kids, we're, expanding our programs, and so we learn that, it's a problem and then we fix it. And so, I mean, the audit drives me crazy because of things like the $50 thing. I'm like, that's not, I don't know, it's frustrating. But at the same time,
Seems
like,
like they're operating 5 levels above where they need to be. Like, this is like, this is like a feedback sheet. And it's like, if you don't, I just don't see it. I mean, maybe there's a couple on here, but it's so ticky-tack. And I just can't
I
believe
know.
somebody spent this much time.
Yeah.
That,
We
This
paid
is
them.
where we
to spend
paid
the
them
money.
$25,000 a year to do this.
that hurts.
Mhm.
So it is, I
Or
mean,
that they-
I think they should have different material. So the other problem is in New Mexico, there's no materiality. So auditors kind of get to decide their own,
Mhm.
and they've kind of decided that for charters, there's none. And so that's frustrating too. Also, we don't pick our own auditor. We're given an auditor, which I think does change the way this happens. Like, we are seen as a compliance unit, not a client.
Despite
think-
the fact that we pay for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we pay a lot of money for it. And I think if we were seen as a client, this would be a very different audit.
Yeah.
And that's how most people experience audits. We are one of the few states that don't allow schools to pick their own auditor. So that is something the PEC wants to see changed in the next few years, because they don't want us to be component units of PED, which would be great. So that's our audit. It was not pretty last year, and they were on a tear last year, the auditors. I had some schools that got findings that I was just shocked by. I don't know what happened last year, but it wasn't just us. And the other thing is, so because I talked to my colleagues, they said they felt the same way. And it depended, there's 3 big audit firms out there: JAG, Moss Adams, and CLA. It's interesting because they all kind of do what they want with the statutes. And we do the accounting the same for all our schools, but the CLA schools got certain findings and the Moss Adams schools got different findings, but it should all be the same. So there's a lot of interpretation right now, and that's a problem with the auditors. Because it shouldn't be. Their numbers should be pretty cut and dry. And I think there should be a level of materiality put out there, like from the state. That would help. But before we know it, it'll be out of season again. Like in 2 months, because it just never ends. The fun never ends, really. No, it just keeps going. So we'll just do it again. And I really don't think we're going to get the fund balance issues again. So.
All right. Thanks, Katie. I know we're still going through our audit at SWIFT as well. I mean, we're still preparing for our A133 circuit. I mean, it's wild. I know. So I know how it goes. So yeah, I mean, the good thing about the audit though is that you get a good look at your own internal, like you can use it as an internal compliant, like self-monitoring as well, right? Just take a look at those things and go, okay, let's make sure we're really paying attention to this, this, and this. And then the more findings you have, the more things you're forced to sort of tighten up and clean up. And then you know how to, as we add things, we kind of get a sense of how we should do it. When we're thinking about, we're going to add this program, or we're going to add this revenue source or whatever, the first thing you think was like, oh, what do I have to do for the audit for this? You know what I mean? So that you're putting together systems off earlier on.
Yeah.
At least that's been my experience.
No, I think the audit does do good things. But then we get into the, I don't know. It also when you don't have any materiality, it means, in my opinion, nothing's material. So
Well,
everything's material.
we had super clean audits for a lot of years. After that first year or two, it's been pretty smooth sailing until starting our own busing system. Come on, it's huge. Transportation, I mean, that is what did it, so hopefully we'll look better next year.
I think so.
I think another thing that Katie too was that our do you know what the total for food was over our reimbursed amount?
I don't know. I can
Um,
look that up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Because food was supposed to be free for all students. But we didn't really know how that was gonna work either. And so we wound up, I think it was a couple $100,000 over what we got
Okay.
reimbursed.
300K is what I think we ended up paying for that.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's the amount that we're over
What the state.
with
gave
the
us.
state. Beyond what the state and federal government reimbursed. So the amount that we're over for, it's 1 million, so we had to pay the $1 million for transportation plus another 300,000 for food. 1.3 million came out of our operating expenses to pay for transportation and food that was not reimbursed by the PED. So nobody has a $1.3 million reserve, just
Yeah.
lying around, or maybe some do, but I can't
Well, no,
imagine.
not after
Funders.
6 years and growing. No, no one does.
Right.
How are we looking, facility wise for next year? Like as we bring in the new kids, are we okay where we're at?
We'll be okay, plus hopefully when the bond closes, we'll be able to get some things in place, but I think we're, either way, I think we're prepared for next year,
Is everything online with the bond, or as far as we can tell?
as far as I can tell.
It was good down in Texas.
Yeah, it was great in Texas. We had a lot of people interested in our school. Mhm.
Well, I saw like we got earth moving equipment up there. That's
Yeah, I
already
think
good.
that's from Jeremy, but
Yeah.
Looks good, Jeremy.
Keep it up there. It's-
Training, fellow training program.
Keith will mess around with it if you leave the keys out.
Yeah. My husband will come over here too.
toys, it's big Concord toys.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? But we're good. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all we have. Let's adjourn.
Great.
Do we have bars, or we did that all?
Yeah, we
Oh.
did consent agenda.
Okay.
So no public comment.
Nothing in the email.
Sounds good. Okay, then, I will put this in the folder for the minutes for next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks. guys. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.